Hi, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya, for those of you that are new here, and I am a watercolor and acrylic artist. So I was out in my garden today and I came across these cute little mini black-eyed Susans. They come up a little bit smaller and a little bit in more clusters, almost like a bush rather than just the flower. So these are like little mini ones. Normally you see the really big ones. I thought they were cute, so I picked some and put them in a vase, and I wanted to paint some for you today. So to get started, I've got my Arches watercolor paper, I have my Koi watercolors, I have my water, my paper towel, and I have two round paint brushes. This one's a 6, and I believe this one is a 0 or a 1. I don't know, it chipped off there. I've been using this brush way too much. All right, the first thing is, here, let me show you actually. Let me cut one of these little flowers off here. So this is what it looks like. So it's got 8 petals and it's really dark in the middle. It's like a really dark brown to black. That's why it's called a black-eyed Susan, because it's got the black right in the middle. And these are the seeds actually. So if you cut these off at the end of the season, when they start drying out, save this middle part and you can regrow your flowers next year, because this is all seeds right in the middle. All right, so I will leave that right there. Okay, so I've got my Koi watercolors, and normally I use Winsor Newton, so I'm not really sure what the name of these colors are, but I'm going to be using, it looks like a lemon yellow, a cad yellow, a cad orange, and probably a sepia. So those are the 4 colors I'm going to be using for this. Again, this is Koi, not Winsor Newton. Those are just the Winsor Newton names that I'm very familiar with. All right. So we're going to first dip it into the sepia looking color, and we're going to cluster right in the middle. We're going to cluster right in the middle, and I'm just pouncing my brush a little bit. I'm using my size 6. Pouncing in the middle, I'm leaving a little bit of white space right there. All right. Wash off your brush, and I made a mixture. Oops. I made a mixture of my lemon yellow and my cad yellow. So I'm getting kind of a in-between color of those two. So just make a little wash of those. And from the brown, you could touch the brown. Just bring these cute little petals. They're just really short and round. And I'm going to be doing the 4 in like a T first, so that I know that I'll be able to get all my 8 in there. Because sometimes when I start on one side and I just work all the way around, I don't seem to get the right number of petals. So I'm going to do this. And then if you wanted to give it the overlapping look, you would dry this and then do the 4 in the corners here, the 4 petals. But as you can see, this is not a very translucent flower. The petals are very opaque looking. So it's probably best just to let them all mix together. You don't need to give it that translucent look. These petals are very thick. They're not as see-through, as transparent as some of the other flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and make these 4 petals in the corner, round them out, and they're not too long. Okay. I'm going to lift a little bit of that up now. I left a little bit of white space, but it's okay if you go ahead and close it up. And I'm lifting up a little bit of that paint just to give it a little bit of a lighter look right in the middle of the petal. And if you had too much of the brown bleeding, now's a good time to just kind of get some of that brown back to the, oops, there goes my brush. Get some of that brown back to the middle part of the flower here. Okay. Let's close that one up a little bit. So if you leave a little white space in your petals, that's totally fine. You don't have to leave that much. Just go ahead and get some of that water off there. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up, I made a little wash here of my, what I'm calling cad orange, and I'll use a little bit of the lemon yellow. And I'm just going to make a nice wash of this orangey tangerine color. And on the middle of each petal here, don't put too much on because then it's going to just kind of spread all over. But just dab your brush off on a paper towel and get some of that paint off there. But I'm going to go right around here in the middle of the flower close to the brown, and I'm just going to drag in a little bit of orange right there. I don't know if you can see this, but on the original, on the actual flower, it's a little bit oranger in the middle around that brown black center, and a little bit more vibrant yellow on the outside. So that's what I'm trying to achieve there. And then if you want, you can bring out a little bit of that orange as well. If it's not spreading as much as you wanted it to, you could bring it out a little bit. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and dry this because I wanna do the middle part now, and I don't want the middle to bleed out into the petals. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry this really quick. Okay, so now that it's nice and dry, I'm gonna take my, I think this is a 1, maybe a 1, 0, it doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna dip it right into what I'm calling sepia. Again, I'm not sure of these colors because they're koi, and I'm not familiar with koi too much. And I'm gonna just darken up my center here again. You can leave a little of that white space again. You can close it all up. It doesn't really matter. This time what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a ring around. I'm just dotting a little ring around that center because I wanna make that center bigger. See how nice and big that center is on the flower? Now some of the centers, actually I pulled one that doesn't have the yellow. I'll show you in a second. I'll cut another one off in a minute. So this is what I'm doing, is I'm leaving a little ring around it because I want to leave a little bit of the yellow showing around that middle part. Let me go ahead and cut another one because I want to show you what I'm talking about here. This one has got it. Okay. I don't know if you can see it on camera. Let me move some of these over. This one's got a little yellow right in the center. So it's got a little circle. This one does not, but this one does. So it depends. You can do it like this. You can leave it a little bit more, your center just darker if you want to, or you can put a ring around it like I'm doing with this one. All right, and I'm gonna take a little bit of my black. Oh, that's another color I'm using, black, sorry. And I'm gonna put a little black right on top of the darker brown, the middle, and that little ring. And all these little seeds are very fuzzy, so rough up your edge. Do not make it a smooth circle. Rough up that edge. Make all those little brush marks showing through. That's where all the little seeds are for this flower. Okay. And if you think you left a little bit too much of that yellow right there in the middle, because it's a little bit, it's not as yellow as this is. It's a little bit more muted. So bring some of that blackish brown color into it and just start closing it up a little bit. But you do want to leave a little bit of that ring showing. All right. And if you think that you need to make your circle a little bit bigger, now's the time to do that. All right. And I am going to grab a little bit more of my lemon yellow, and I'm just going to go over some of these. And I'm not going to hit the brown though, because I don't want it to blend. I just want a little bit more yellow. And if you feel like you need to make your petals a little bit longer, some of them, go for it. And I'm even going to take a little bit more of that orange color and bring it in there. It just pops it out even a little bit more if you bring a little bit of that orange color in there. And I'm just going to make some of these petals a little bit bigger. Now that I put that center on there, I realize that some of these petals need to be just a little bit bigger. There. That's cute. I love it. If you want, you can go in with your size 0 again, and just bring in a little bit of more orange if you want to. And I'm just kind of from the middle out. There you go. And then if you think it's too much, you can always pull it right back. Just dab it off with your paintbrush. So don't be afraid to experiment. You can always dab it right back off, as long as it's wet. Cute. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do another one for you really quick. So again, I'm gonna pick up my brown, Do a little circle in the middle, just dotting it. Take my yellow mix, make some little petals. Doing the T shape first so I can get all my petals in there. Okay. And then I'm going to do the ones in the corners. All right. Now I'm going to add a little bit of that orange right in the center, let it bleed through. Okay. Make this one a little larger. All right, and I am going to go ahead and blow dry this really quick. All right, and then I'm going to take my size 1 or 0, whatever you have, and I'm going to do a little ring around that brown, just dotting it again. Okay, I'm going to bring a little bit of black in there, darken it up a little bit. Again, don't be afraid to rough up that circle. I'm just pouncing my brush on the outside, so the point is on the outside of the circle. I just want to rough that up a little bit. And if you feel you need to bring in some of that black or brown, close up your space a little bit. You can even bring in a little bit more yellow if you want to, right in the middle there. Close up a little of that white space. Okay. And I am going to bring in a little bit more of my yellow. I move back to my larger brush. I'm going to deepen up some of these petals. So I'm just putting the darker yellow a little bit here and there. I don't want to fill in the whole petal. And then again, I'm going to bleed in my orange. And if it's not bleeding as much as you want it to, you can help it along. I'm going to go back to my smaller size brush. Help that orange along a little bit. All right, and if you feel that it just went a little bit too far down the petal, just bring it back. No big deal. And if your painting is dry already, you can always just wet your brush and just re-wet the petal. Cute. All right, I've got a little bit more whitish yellow in the middle here than I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and close that with a little bit more brown. Beautiful. And there you go. So these are cute little flowers. If we did the really big black-eyed Susans, obviously your petals will be really, really long. But these are just the little minis, and they're really cute to paint. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want more videos like this one. And you can also leave a comment in the comment section if you like these videos that I'm painting for you lately. All right, have a great day. Bye.